Hi. Oh, hey. Hi, Google Hangout. Thanks for hanging out with me. I've never done this before. This is my first ever live chat. And I have promised to answer all of your questions, and I don't lie when I make promises. I will legitimately answer anything you want to ask me. Use the hashtag #AskJessi. As you can see, I am sitting very comfortably in the CBC Toronto studios, but I think I actually am in Stephen and Chris's storage unit. It's like where they keep, oh, there's a horse over there that I'll show you in a second. It's where they keep all these like glamorous interior decor props, and I'm just sitting amongst it, waiting for your questions. So send them in, hashtag #AskJessi. The first question comes from Charlotte Flewelling. I am not one to talk about other people's last names. My last name is Cruickshank, which sounds like you're horking up phlegm. Hi, Charlotte Flewelling at Charlotte NF from Moncton, New Brunswick. Oh, I love Moncton. I love New Brunswick. Jessi, where did you get the motivation to start in TV, etc.? Well, my mom, funnily enough, my mom was had a show on the CBC my entire childhood. When I was a little kid, she did a show on the CBC called The Best Years, which was about senior citizens, ironically, because my mom was like in her 30s. And then she went on to do the first ever health show before the Dr. Oz's of the world. My mom, Joyce Resin, hosted a show called Alive, The Picture of Health, which was on Sundays on the CBC. And now I am on Canada's Smartest Person on Sundays on the CBC. So it's kind of amazing how that worked out. So yeah, I think growing up and watching her every Sunday, you know, we would watch her show. That was kind of ingrained in the back of my mind that it would be a cool thing to do. But quite literally, when I was in university, I went to U of T, and I, as all of us who go to college are, was struggling to find a way to pay for my school, and I saw a posting for a kids TV show. They wanted a host for a new YTV show that was filming in the summer, and I thought, well, it probably pays better than like my current job, which was quite literally playing a pirate wench at Canada's Wonderland. I thought perhaps this television show might be a little more glamorous and might pay the bills a little bit better. So I went in, waited in this long line. Everyone wanted this, you know, to apply to be on this show, and somehow I got the job. So I spent 2 summers in university traveling the country. We went to New Brunswick, to Moncton, doing these live kids shows, and that sort of was my start in TV and how I really learned. So I hope that answers your question, Charlotte. Thank you for sending it in. This next question comes from @TheTerribleHook, who is, you're so good. You tweet us all the time. You tweet me all the time. And I read all of your tweets when you tweet me @Jessi or @Canada's Smartest. We read them all. So thank you for following the show and tweeting us @TheTerribleHook. It says, you're an inspiration to many young girls like my daughter. Thank you. Any girl power messages for your fans? Well, that is a real compliment. I feel like, I guess for me, there's a lot of really terrible female role models, and I say this as, you know, in another window, I'm sure you're looking at Kim Kardashian's nude bum or whatever she put on the internet today. There's a lot of terrible things that I think young girls and women are seeing on television and pop culture, and for me, I have only ever tried to be myself. Even on Canada's Smartest Person, it's like this big game show, this beautiful set, and I'm incapable of being like poised or perfect or pretty. You watch my reactions to these people competing on the show, and they're always like, it's a joke with our team to see like who can make the funniest gif of Jessi's stupid reaction that day. But all of that comes from just like being totally unself-conscious on television, and being comfortable enough with myself to make mistakes and speak my mind and be a strong, opinionated woman. And you know, I think that there are a lot of women who are on television just because of how they look, and I've never been one of those women. And so using my brain and my sense of humor and my personality has always been important to who I am. So my advice to all young women is to really figure out who you are, with all of your flaws included, and don't be afraid to showcase those, because those will ultimately be the things that set you apart and that make you successful in life. Girl power. Ryan Lafergie, at Ryfergie Ryan, at Canada Smartest, hashtag Ask Jessi, would you consider yourself smart? And just to note, he put smart in quotation marks. So, I mean, anyone can consider themselves smart. But yes, I do. I would feel like a sham if I was hosting this show and I didn't consider myself smart. Like I said, I never, ever got anywhere, especially when you're, now I'm going to bring up some childhood issues, but when you're a redheaded kid and I wasn't a cute, Lindsay Lohan type of redheaded little kid, I was I came out of the womb and my parents were like, oh my God, put it back. Just Cheeto flaming orange. You could see my organs through my skin, pasty, not an attractive child. And I didn't get any attention. I didn't get anywhere because of how I looked. And so, I was forced to form some kind of a personality as a kid and in high school. And I really, developed, I think, a sense of humor because of it. And I think that I really relied on my intelligence and focused on that. I always did really well in school. I got a great, scholarship to U of T. So yes, I do consider myself smart. And I have to say, you have to be smart to host that show. I didn't realize it until I was on set and we were shooting our first episode. There was so much going on. There are these people we're playing, we can't reshoot anything if we make a mistake, and that's all on me. So I can't screw up. I have to get the scores right. I have to remember, what the challenges are. There are tons of moving pieces. There's people talking in my ear telling me, to look this way, or the score is this, so there's a lot to juggle, and you have to be smart to juggle that. At the same time, I found myself feeling really dumb surrounded by some of the people that we had on the show, because as I'm sure you've seen, they are so well-rounded, so intelligent, just such lovely people, all the contestants on our show. So yeah, at the end of every episode, I was like, I need to practice my math skills. But at my core, I do believe I am. Quotation marks smart. Thank you for your question. Maureen Riley, hey, I know this. Hi, Maureen. I know Maureen. Maureen, hi, at that girl, Maureen. Who is the smartest person that you know outside the show? Ooh. Well, I haven't met Peter Mansbridge, but in my mind, he's the smartest person that I know, because I like to believe that Peter Mansbridge doesn't read the news or read a teleprompter. I think that he just knows all those things. I like to think that he's just speaking off the cuff. I don't actually, today I went over to try to break into his set at the National and they wouldn't let me in. There are big signs. There's actually a metal gate. We'll tweet a picture of me trying to break into the National set a few minutes ago. But yeah, I wanted to see if he, I don't believe, I like to think that he's making all that up on the spot and he's that smart, right? I would have to say my dad's pretty smart too. My dad's my go-to, ask for advice, ask him to help me with my taxes, ask him to do all the adult things that I really should know how to do by now. But my dad and I have been playing against each other on the Canada's Smartest Person app. If anyone is playing the app, please tweet me, tell me how you're doing, because I'm obsessed with it. It's I used to go on my phone to check my Twitter and my Instagram. Now I go on my phone to play the app. I look forward to riding the subway so I can practice on the Canada's Smartest Person app. But I challenge my dad all the time, and I've kicked his ass a couple of times. Oops, but a couple of times. At Haddad DNA, Dan Haddad. Hi, Dan. Jessi, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Hashtag at Jessi. Oh, God. Well, definitely hosting season 10 of Canada's Smartest Person. I think that's a given. I don't know. That's a great question. It's been so cool to think back even on the last, 5-6 years of my career that I've gone from hosting a kids show to The Hills and, talking to Heidi when I really couldn't make eye contact with her because she had these like giant breast implants to talking to some of the smartest people in our country. Like it's pretty cool to think how vast the spectrum of what I've been able to do in my career so far has been. So I look forward to the next 10 years and seeing what they bring. I don't know. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years, Dan Haddad? That's a really tough question. Hopefully I'm alive. I don't know. Hopefully I might. Maybe I'll still be in this Google chat because the questions are coming in. I'll still be right here in Stephen and Chris's basement answering your questions. Keep them coming. Hashtag @Jessi. Sorry, hashtag Ask Jessi. This is incredible. So Johnny was a competitor on the last episode that aired on Canada's Smartest Person this past Sunday. And I mean, he's from Vancouver, and as a BC girl, I will take credit. The Vancouverites are an attractive peoples. He is a tall glass of water. He has this long hair, and he was wearing it in a man bun, and he won our last episode, so he'll be going to the finals in 2 weeks. But I was sort of obsessed with his man bun, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to embarrass him, and I didn't want him to think I was. When the show aired, I couldn't help myself, and I tweeted something about Johnny's man bun being Canada's smartest man bun, because clearly it is, and a picture of him, and then suddenly a Twitter account called Johnny's Man Bun popped up, and you can imagine this made my day, because if you know me, you know I love a good man bun, especially on Johnny. So the fact that, I mean, if any man bun deserved its own Twitter account, it's Johnny's. So this tweet comes from Johnny's Man Bun. And like, none of us know who is behind this Twitter account. It's no one from that we know. I don't think it's Johnny. It's all very peculiar. So Johnny's Man Bun, I'm just imagining I'm answering a question from a piece of hair. If you could show off your smarts to Canada in any one of the challenges, which would it be? Musical. I was really good at the musical challenges, and I would try every single challenge on set before we did it the day before with the competitors, just so I knew, you know, how difficult it was. Because to sort of communicate that with the viewers, when someone is bouncing a ball and it looks really hard, I wanted to be able to say, like, yeah, it's really hard. So musical, I would definitely, I think music match, I'm pretty good. I want to brag, but I'm like really gifted. I basically have the voice of Celine Dion and the face. This comes from @TheTerribleHook. What was your family's reaction when you told them you were hosting Canada's Smartest Person? Oh, they were thrilled, as you can imagine. Well, first of all, they thought that when I told them about it, they thought I was Canada's Smartest Person, which I had to explain I was not. I wasn't even in the running. I was just the host. But then they were just so excited. I mean, my parents, you know, I grew up with my mom working and doing a show at the CBC, and my parents always watching the CBC. As most Canadians, it's sort of such an important part of our country and our culture. So to do a show on the channel was really exciting. And for my whole family. And like, my poor parents are intelligent, professional people, and they have been forced to watch me talk to like reality television stars for years. So they're just thrilled that they get to watch, you know, with like people that they can relate to, that are smart, and they're genuinely so into the show. Like, when I'm live tweeting on Sunday nights at 8 during Canada's Smartest Person, one of my hands is like live tweeting on my computer or phone, and the other one is like trying to deal with my mother, who's texting me and calling me throughout every episode. She's obsessed with it. So yes, they're very happy, and I think they would be fans of the show whether I was on it or not. But they're excited that I'm on it. Victoria or V Leenders Chang. Victoria is one of our competitors. She's our only female in the final so far, I believe. So we're excited about that. Victoria tweets, you got into Yale for a master's program. What made you decide not to go? It seemed like things worked out pretty well. God, Victoria, that's why you are smart. You've done your research. I did. I never intended really to get into television. I did an English degree and women's studies minor, and I wanted to do something really important with my life. And so I had applied to a master's, and I was, had every intention of going. And then I got this job offer at MTV, and it was like Sophie's choice. Do you go to one of the biggest, most important learning institutions in North America, or do you go on cable television? And I chose the latter. And fortunately, yes, it did work out. But I deferred for like years and years. I always thought, oh, I'll go eventually. And no, hey, I still might go. That's maybe where I'll end up in 10 years, just like an old, crotchety old lady doing my master's with 25-year-olds. This comes, and keep your questions coming. These are so good. This is from @CarrieFraserCBC. When can we count on an appearance from Dan Levy on @Canada's Smartest? #AskJessi, #reunion. That's a great question, Carrie Fraser. We should get a cameo. Dan, of course, you will be seeing him on the CBC very soon. His show, Schitt's Creek, which he produced and stars in with his dad, Eugene Levy, premieres on the CBC in January, and he has shown me a few things from it, and it is amazing. So you'll see plenty of him on the CBC, I'm sure, in January. But yeah, that's a great question. We got to get him on season 2. Although I think he would, no, actually, Dan would do really well. Dan is one of the smartest people I know. And we're very close friends. He was my bridesman in my wedding a couple months ago. So yes, we're like that. So hopefully that's a great point. We should get him on. I'll do like a cameo on his show, and he'll come do a cameo on mine. It'll be a whole little inbred after show CBC reunion. I like it. This is from Carolyn @GGLaFo. What's the neatest fact you learned hosting Canada's Smartest Person? I actually think the coolest thing I learned was really about what the whole show is based on, which is this premise of multiple intelligence. I think before I heard about the show, I, like most people, thought that how smart you are is totally determined on if you know all your facts and your figures and how you do on an IQ test. And this show has really proven that to be not true. And so it sort of made me reevaluate my intelligence. And the other thing I learned is never, people are no matter how judgmental or non-judgmental you are, I like to think of myself as a non-judgmental person, but we're quick to judge the taxi driver, or the guy who's washing our car, or the guy who works at the cheese stand at the farmer's market. But we had the plumbers, the electricians, we're quick to dismiss those people as perhaps not as intelligent as professors or physicists. And yet we had all those people competing on our show. I mean, we had a cheese salesman, as you saw. We have a master electrician on the show. I mean, and they're so brilliant, and they just prove that it doesn't matter where you come from or what you do for a living or how educated you are. It really is, being intelligent really is so, it's just, it can show itself in so many different versatile ways. So I think I've become a far less quick to judge people that I come across in my everyday life, which is a really good thing. And I hope that you are too, having watched the show, because I'm always blown away by the competitors on our show. This is from Kat P @CatPercy. What's one app on your phone you just can't live without, other than the Canada's Smartest Person app, as I said earlier? Because I legitimately, I'm annoying. Those people who are annoying on their phone? You're like, hello? That's me on my Canada's First Person app. I'm like, oh, sorry, a new challenge has just come in. Oh, Wordmaster, excuse me. That's me. But then Instagram. I cannot live without Instagram. I don't know how I lived before it. I mean, how did we function without posting photos of ourselves to the internet every day? And Instagram has actually helped me keep up with people more so than Facebook or Twitter, because it's super quick, right? And you can just see, you know that your crush from high school isn't looking so hot. I speak from experience. So I love Instagram. I'm on it all the time. At Jessi Cruickshank. Come find me. I just posted a photo from right here. I posed with this. I would actually like the horse, though, at some point. There's like a horse in this room. It's really, I wish you could see the whole room. I actually want to take all these things home. I don't think Stephen or Chris would notice. Oh, thanks. Just a giant horse head. Don't they need this? How are they making a television show without this? Stephen and Chris, ransom. I have your horse head. Okay, but seriously, I'm going to put this in my suitcase and take this home with me. Shh. Kat Percy also says, what would you be doing if you didn't have your current gig? Watching it? I would totally watch the show. I watched it when it was a special. Some of you know or don't know. It was a special a couple of years ago on the CBC that Jerry D hosted, and I was by myself alone in a hotel room in Thunder Bay, which is, as you can imagine, a raging party scene in my hotel room. No offense to Thunder Bay. I was just alone and didn't know anyone there. And instead of crying myself to sleep, I turned on the television and there was Canada's Smartest Person, and I watched the whole thing. I was up like all night because it came on again, and I watched the first part that I hadn't seen, and I was so into it. So I was very excited to be a part of it. So I would definitely be watching the show if I wasn't doing my current gig. But also when I graduated from school and before I was supposed to go do a master's and I didn't know what I wanted to do, I taught a special needs program, and I did that my entire high school and college. That was sort of my side job, was teaching at a special needs drama program called Drama Way. It's a Toronto-based program if you're in Toronto, and it's amazing, and they're actually looking for volunteers, so I'm glad you brought that up. If anyone wants to volunteer with an amazing program, I think volunteering is such an important part of everybody's life. Drama Way is a really great place to do it. At Naomi_ML, fave person you've ever interviewed and someone you still dream of chatting up. If there's anyone even left, ha ha ha. There are so many people. I haven't met Peter Mansbridge. And he's in this building. Maybe I should bring him this horse head and see if he'll let me in that way, because I tried to break into the national set and they wouldn't let me in. Peter Mansbridge, I would like to interview. Fave person I've ever interviewed. Oh, you know what? This is true. I'm not just saying this because I happen to be at the CBC. Jason Priestley is a guest on the show this Sunday night at 8 o'clock, Canada's Smartest Person, and I had never met him, and obviously I was a huge fan of 90210 and Brandon Walsh, and I was so nervous to have him on the show, and he was, no joke, the nicest, most genuine person that I have ever met or worked with. Prior to meeting Jason, I would say Tom Cruise, but Tom Cruise was more in like a borderline creepy way. He was so nice. Like, he shook my hand and he made eye contact with me to the point where I thought he had fallen in love with me. And then he like went and did it to the cable guy and the camera guy and the lighting guy, and I realized that that's just his thing. He's so over the top nice to everybody. So Tom Cruise really, really impressed me. But Jason Priestley was like the most genuine, kind, very, very sweet person. And we happened to be staying in the same building, or the same like sort of hotel when he came on Canada's Smartest Person, and he was like, oh yeah, what are you doing later? Let's we'll hit the gym. And I was like, it's very kind of you, but you're not seeing me sweat in the gym in my jogging pants. I'm not an attractive exerciser. I'm sure you are, Jason Priestley, but I am not. I look more like this, jogging, sweating, and I get really red. So anyway, Jason Priestley. Now, oh, and Rain Maida, who was on our show. I'll just say this. I am not, I've said this before, I am not very poised. I don't interview people and like become their friend after. That's not my thing. I'm not cool like that. So no, I've never really met a famous person and then become friends with them after, but Rain Maida was on our show and he was so nice and so cool. And he invited me over to dinner with him and Chantel. and gave me his number. And I thought it was really cool until now when I just said on the internet that he invited me, which makes me really not cool. But I was pretty excited by it. So Rain Maida, he's a good one too. Tracy Davidson, what's the best makeup tips you've learned? Ooh, I've learned a lot. Well, I have 2 eyebrows now, which is a big thing for me. And 1 for most of my childhood, like Bert. So that has been a big thing. But then I've learned so much. Like, I have a bit of a problem with false eyelashes. I can't. They totally, especially on television. In real life, it can be like a little bit aggressive, but on television, they sort of just open up your eye and you know, it looks very dramatic. So I love a good false eyelash, and I've only recently learned how to put it on myself. Like, I used to glue them and they would end up on my forehead, but now I get them in place. So that's a good one. And then I think just like, I like wearing no makeup. I like the days where I'm not, you know, filming, and I can just wear like a nice little tinted moisturizer and a little mascara and go. So I think giving your skin a break as often as possible is a really good tip that I have learned. And like, don't mess with your face, man. Can I say that? Don't mess with your face. It's just like, it always upsets me when I see women or even men now too, that you watch and and all of a sudden they show up on TV and they're like one day they look like this and then the next day they're like, why would you do that? Don't do it. Don't mess with your face. Your face is, I mean, just, you know, who knows? Maybe next season I'll be like, hi, welcome to Canada's Smartest Person. But no, I firmly believe in you know, letting yourself. Sinead Fitz at GL_Fitz. You were on the high school improv team with Seth Rogen. Yes, you did your research. How was that? What advice would you give students about getting involved at school? Oh, that's such a good question, Sinead Fitz. The improv team was crazy because I was the only girl on the improv team. So it was me and 7 dudes. And as you can imagine, like, high school guys are really at their prime in terms of just being total maniacs. So it was me and these 7 guys. We won the BC championships, and we traveled to Ottawa together, and there was like no budget for me because I was the only girl, so I had to sleep on the couch in a room with 7 like 16-year-old boys. Our uniform for the improv team was a jacket and a shirt and a tie, like a men's suit, because they had only anticipated having a guys team. So it was unprecedented that a girl would be on the team. But there I was, I had to wear a suit. There are photos, I know I've posted a photo somewhere on my Instagram from the improv team. And you can't even, like, it will take you a good 10 minutes to figure out which one is me, because I look like a boy. I looked like a boy in high school, and especially in that jacket and tie. But yeah, Seth was always, and still is, I still see him pretty regularly. He was just always so funny and like very cerebral. I think in improv, you know, anyone who's done high school drama even, or comedy or improv, like, it's so over the top. Everyone does these big characters, and it's just all about, never did that. He was always about the intellectual joke and like coming in and just dropping some hilarious joke that would end the scene and make everybody die laughing. So that brand of comedy, interestingly enough, he sort of, I think, transitioned from that Jim Carrey era of slapstick comedy into the more cerebral, joke-based comedy. And, you know, I like to think he started that over at Point Grey Secondary School on our little improv team. And I mean, getting involved in high school, which was the second part of your question, or in college too. I speak at a lot of colleges and universities, and I can't preach this enough. It's the most important thing you'll do, because at the end of the day, if you look back on your high school career, you look back on, you know, your university, your time at university, the chances are you're not going to remember sitting in class or taking notes or, you know, writing the math test. You're going to remember the things you did outside of school that didn't necessarily have anything to do with your degree. You know, you're going to remember being in the school play or the band or the choir or the science club or whatever you did, and remember the relationships you formed there. So I'm not saying disregard your studies, but I am saying that I think you'll learn a lot from getting involved outside of your curricular activities. So that's my advice. And I think that's the end of our Google Hangout. But I had a lot of fun. You guys all look great. And I appreciate you hanging out with me so that it wasn't just me in Stephen and Chris's storage closet with this horse. So thank you for hanging out with me. If you have any other burning questions, you can always tweet me at Jessi, at Canada's Smartest, hashtag at Jessi, and I'll answer them on the internet. But I'll see you next time, and I'll see you this Sunday at 8 o'clock on the CBC on Canada's Smartest Person. Woohoo!